Welcome to Your Legacy Stories podcast. Your host, Natalie McQueen, helps people from all walks of life to create, live, and preserve their legacy for future generations to enjoy. Natalie became a legacy designer after a near-death experience that made her completely reevaluate the legacy she was leaving in this world. She is also a book publisher who has guided over 500 authors to become international bestsellers. Natalie's mission is to help you craft the legacy you deserve, encourage you to live it to the fullest, and then preserve it for future generations to enjoy. On this show, her guests share moments of purpose, gratitude, wisdom, and tradition, and of course, their legacy stories.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Natalie McQueen, and today we have Tony Jackson. Tony Jackson is a voice actor, grant writer, adaptive sports athlete, aficionado of delicious foods, and generally a good human being. He loves to travel, food hot enough to melt your face off, wow, and music loud enough to melt your ears. I love that part. Well, welcome, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you. Thanks, Natalie, for having me on
We got
today.
to talk about that hot food.
We do. I'm more than willing to talk about it.
Yeah, you've
Sure.
got a lot of things that you do and some passions. I love it. So the first thing is tell us a little bit about how you help people with your voice acting.
How I help people with my voice acting? Well, as it relates to you and our space here today, I can narrate audiobooks. I do it. I happen to be in my studio right now where I've narrated several audiobooks.
Yeah.
So I am more than happy to narrate your audiobook. I mostly do nonfiction. I've done some small fiction things here and there, but mostly nonfiction. A lot of like coaching and self-help type books that I've done.
Perfect. So as we got on today, I was sharing with you because as a publisher, authors come and say, "Oh my gosh, you published my book. Let's put my audiobook, let's use AI and get it out there because it's so cheap." And I have never gone down that route because I feel that a human being can bring across your story better than any AI I have heard. And I'm not against AI. As I shared with you this morning, I did a little AI, my little intro, and
Yeah,
you said your heart shrunk 3
it
sizes.
did. It did. It actually shrank more, but I didn't want you to feel worse than you were already feeling at that moment. Yeah, it didn't sound very good. It
Yeah.
didn't sound very good.
It,
And
you
no
can tell.
offense to you. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell it's not a human.
It sounded very robotic, and there were some syllables that were missed. There were some funny enunciations and pacing and rhythm things that you
Mm.
could pick up on when the AI generated voice was. I don't want to even call it talking because it's not really talking, right?
Right.
Yeah, was being played. It was being
Yeah.
played.
Well, and it was kind of funny because that's the first time I've ever tried anything like that. And I looked easy enough. You put your verbiage in there and it has the speed, and that
Mhm.
speed they set it at, I was like, oh my gosh, get on with it. So I sped it up a little bit. And I had another gentleman that I work with, and he's like, wow, that's fast. I'm like, well, I like it faster than slow, but yeah.
Wow.
I'm so happy you have agreed that you're going to make me sound good.
I will make you sound a lot better than that for sure.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was painful. And look, and I will say this, artificial intelligence technology can be a great thing in certain ways.
Right.
But as you may know right now, the Writers Guild of America is currently on strike. The Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio, whatever the A part at the end stands for.
Right.
All of them, SAG-AFTRA is on strike as well because AI is a threat to human creation in
Yeah.
so many ways because studios are now looking to use artificial intelligence to do more of the writing and more of the creating. Part of the problem with that is especially generative AI, is it takes what's already out there and uses that to create something new.
Right.
And so, eh,
So
are you
really
really
not new.
are you yeah, right, are you really creating something new?
Nope.
Not really, you're just taking the same ideas and you're reforming them into something that might appear new on the surface, but, I mean, it's really
Yeah.
not, right?
Yep. No, I have thought, um, there are a lot of good ways that you can use the AI and get ideas and get maybe motivated to do something that you haven't done because you maybe have a framework or something. But you have to keep your heart and your message in it so you don't lose you.
Right. And I will say this, and I've heard this from other people, so I'm just repeating what somebody else has already said. Until AI generated voices and AI generated words are able to emote
Hmm.
like a human being, people are going to be safe. But the technology is getting better all the time. But the human brain is really complex, right? I mean, the computer can only spit out what humans put into it,
Right.
right? But we, as people, don't even fully understand the human brain and how it creates emotion and why it creates emotion. We don't understand that necessarily. Most of us don't, anyway. There might be a couple people out there who do,
Right.
but we don't, in general, understand how that works. And so, until we can understand how that works and tell computers how it works, computers aren't going to be able to emote like we do.
Yeah. No, I agree. So let's talk about your grant writing. How or what do you do with your grant writing?
So I write grants for a nonprofit in the Phoenix area called Ability 360.
Okay.
And a lot of the grants that I write are for the programs that we offer there. So we do a lot of in-home healthcare. That is state and federally funded, so I don't really write grants for that. But we do a lot of home modifications. Excuse me. So home modification is basically somebody who might be aging or acquired a new disability, and now they maybe use a wheelchair or they're on,
Right.
they're permanently disabled for whatever reason.
Yep.
Um, and so a lot of these people live in homes that were not wheelchair accessible.
Right.
And
Yeah.
injuries happen that way. Injuries happen that way. You can't get into doorways. Showers aren't accessible, so there are slips, there are falls, hospital visits. And so Ability 360, with contractors that the organization works with, will go into your home and modify the home to make it accessible, widen doorways if needed,
Right.
um, install ramps if you have stairs leading to your home, if you have a bathtub, a roll-in shower for people who can't walk or
Okay.
stand, things like that. And that makes the home a lot safer. So I'll write grants for things like that. We also have a 45,000 square foot um, fully adaptive, universally designed sports and fitness center, which is
Wow.
designed for people with disabilities in mind, but it's open to the public. There's a lot of grant writing for that because there are a ton of programs that are offered through that. We
Mhm.
have competitive and recreational sports. We have outdoor excursions, so many things, and it all requires money to fund and and
Right.
and and provide to people, because we provide most of these programs at little or no cost to the people who use them.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So you yourself are an adaptive sports athlete.
I
What's
am.
your in a certain sport?
I am. Yeah. So the thing about my condition, so I have a condition called arthrogryposis, which is a congenital, meaning from birth, joint condition. So I don't have use of my arms or legs. And so I use a power wheelchair because I can't push myself with a manual wheelchair. By the way, Ability 360 has modified homes for me in the past, including the one I'm living in right now. And so there aren't really a lot of sports out there for people like me who use power wheelchairs,
Right.
especially team sports, especially team sports. And so I play a sport called power soccer, or more specifically, power wheelchair soccer.
Okay.
And that is 4-on-4 on a basketball court, and we use these high performance power wheelchairs, and these metal cages that are attached to the front that we use to manipulate the ball. So we kick the ball with it, we shoot the ball with it. We defend other teams against
Right.
us with it, and I love it. I've been doing it for 14 years now.
Wow, that sounds
Yeah,
fantastic.
a long time. Yeah, the sport's actually been around since the early 80s. It was created in France, and then separately, unbeknownst to the folks in France, there was a movement in the United States. There was also something going on in, where was it? Japan, I believe it was as well. All of
Okay.
these places had something similar going on. And I won't get into the entire history of it, but eventually they
Right.
unified, and now it's a global sport. It's played in 20 plus countries around the world. I'm heading to Australia in a couple weeks to go provide play by play for the Power Soccer World Cup.
Very
So yeah, so I mean, it's been fun. I love it. Like again, I've been doing it for 14 years. I started doing play by play for it about 10, 11 years ago, something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, and I've been doing that ever since. I've traveled all over the place to provide play by play for major national and international power soccer competitions.
Now, is there somewhere that we can see that? Is it on
Yeah,
like
if you go on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of them. The really old live streams, I don't know. I don't know if you want to watch some of those, but
right?
if you go on to the Power Soccer Shop YouTube channel,
Okay.
um, you can see some of the sport. Our national tournament was in June in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and so there's 4 days worth of power soccer on there, and then a bunch of other tournaments that have happened over the years. There's the South American Championships. There's the National Veterans Wheelchair Games that happens all over the country every year. Power Soccer Shop goes out and live streams that too. So yeah, and
Wow.
then
So you said that you have had this since birth.
my condition, yes.
Okay. And so you're running a business, you're out doing sports and stuff. I mean, that's very impressive. That's great that your disability probably has been something to help or to overcome, but it's not letting you stop living your life.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if overcome is the right word though. Yeah, I don't know if overcome's the right word because it's the only thing I've ever known,
Okay.
right? I think overcoming something
Right.
would be,
You
something new,
way.
like a new challenge that's
Right.
presented to you, right?
Yep.
Like I don't know any other way. And so and I've just I know how to live with it. I live with it. It's my experience, right? And so yeah, I don't know how manage, I don't want to even say manage. I
Mhm.
live with it. This is what I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And you have such a smooth voice, perfect for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more. Um, let's talk about food.
Okay, let's talk about food. Yeah, what do you got?
What are some of your favorite foods?
So, my mom is Korean, and so I love Korean food, certainly.
Yeah. Is there a
Um,
certain dish?
not necessarily, not necessarily. Just kind of everything. There like bulgogi is always good. That's a popular dish that a lot of people might know. It's,
Okay.
marinated short rib beef. It's
Yep.
delicious. It's kimchi obviously is a big, it's like the national dish of Korea, right? Even though kimchi is not
Yep.
necessarily one specific thing, right? It's like
Right.
salsa. Salsa is not one specific thing,
Okay.
right? And so
I,
neither is kimchi. Um,
I've heard kimchi is really good for your gut health.
it is because it's fermented cabbage with spicy pepper. Yeah.
And
So
it's good?
yeah, yeah, it's delicious. I mean, there's all different types. You can make it with cucumbers, you can make it with daikon radish, you can make it with Napa cabbage is the most common form of kimchi when people
Okay.
talk about it. Yeah, it's fermented Napa cabbage, with a bunch of salt and other things, other delicious things, garlic, and all kinds of stuff in it. So, and
Yum.
yeah, it ferments, and so fermented foods are good for you. They can be, um,
Right.
yeah, which is why Koreans live
I've
to be
seen
110.
right. I've seen the kimchi at Costco, and I walked by it and I said I should try it, but it's
You
such a big
should,
portion.
you should.
Not try it there.
I don't know if I would try Costco kimchi. Go to
Okay.
H Mart. If there's an H Mart near you, no. Now, for those of us who are not living in the Phoenix metro area who will watch this, Mesa is a suburb of Phoenix. There's an H Mart in Mesa.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
H Mart is a Korean store. They're nationwide now. They've blown up over the last few years. I want to thank the boy band BTS for helping out with this. I don't know if they're directly involved in it or not, but I just want to thank BTS and their popularity for pushing out Korean culture. Um, so H Mart in Mesa will have much better kimchi than Costco.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will, the next time I go networking in that area, I'll look it up and
Yeah.
go.
It's right there on Main Street and Dobson Road. So right at the border of Tempe Mesa.
Okay.
And I guarantee you, if that kimchi in there is not made by Koreans, the people who made it were taught by Koreans. At least I want to
Right.
believe that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That sounds good. Now, so Korean would be your number one. What would be your next?
I don't I don't know if I like to rank my favorites because it really kind of
Right.
sometimes depends on the day. Like I love Indian food, I love Thai food. When I was a kid, I loved Italian food, but I was reading recently that Italian food used to be America's favorite cuisine, and that over the years has been supplanted by Mexican food, which I
Ah,
agree is delicious.
it
So I mean,
is.
I mean, like I I love all kinds of different types of food. God, what else? What
Well,
else?
obviously hot food.
Yeah, I love hot food. I mean, even though Korean food, I don't think it's super hot,
Right.
right? Like I've had some really, really hot things. Oh my God, I had a dish one time. This is when I was living in Minnesota. I went to a Himalayan restaurant because I was like, I've never had Himalayan food. Let me go to this place and
Yeah.
try this out. And so I got this noodle dish, and they said, "How hot do you want it on a scale of 1 to 10?" I said, "Make it 10, and don't mess with me. Like, give me the fire." And let me tell you, this soup was so hot. This is
Were
like
you able to eat it?
I finished most of it.
Oh
It
my God.
was it was so hot. Like everything, I didn't even know there were holes in my face, like crying that I didn't even know existed on my face. It was so hot and it was so good. It was
That's
so oh
hilarious.
man, it was so good. Yeah, man. It it hurt a little bit, but
It
it was
bet.
like I mean my nose and my oh man. Okay, so I have actually had something that was too hot. It was it was too hot. And um it was this chicken place in Tempe. I don't remember what it's called right now. But
Okay.
yeah, and they have a spice level called Houston We Have a Problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I would run the other way.
So a friend of mine was eating a chicken sandwich at that spice level, and I was like, "Come on, let me try it." Because you try things,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, this is so hot," and you laugh and you go, "Okay, guys, thanks, nice try, but let's try something else." And so I'm thinking the same thing. I'm coming in super cocky and really feeling good about myself coming into this, and so I took a bite of a sandwich. About 5 minutes later, my face just complete. You ever seen? So I know I'm going to age myself a little bit here, and that's okay. But you've seen Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? At the end of the movie, the Nazis, the one guy, his face just kind of
Right, right.
right. That was me after about 5 minutes. That was me after about 5 minutes, and it hurt so much. Uh, and I said, "No, it's okay." And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to be tough about it, and my face is just streaming out of my eyes, out of my nose, out of my it's like I'm a hot mess at this point,
Oh.
right?
Well, have
And
you
so
ever seen that show? Is it Hot Wings or
yeah,
what?
hot ones, hot ones. Yeah, I love those guys. I
Oh my
love
gosh,
those guys.
we love watching the celebrities come on.
and some of them take it like champs. Some of them
Oh
take it
yeah,
like champs, and
and some of
other
them cry like babies.
some of them cry like babies. And let me tell you, this sandwich hurts so bad later on. And it was, I'm not even talking about like, the aftermath that everybody
Right.
talks about. I'm really just like, my stomach actually hurt. I had to go lay down for a while. It was so
Wow.
hot. And I've
No,
never,
I would be
never,
tapping out at level 2. I would be like done. So I grew up in Canada, and so I guess we don't have a ton of spicy food that or that I was raised with. And so when we first moved to Phoenix area, we loved, Mexican food was
mm,
all new to us. And so even the jalapenos were
oh
hot,
man.
so hot for me. And now I can eat them by the jar. Like it doesn't bother
Yeah.
me. It built my tolerance. But I'm still pretty wimpy. Anything above jalapeno level, I'm like,
Is too much.
yeah.
Well, there is a salsa festival coming up. I think it's in like April or March.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think they do it at like Tempe Town Lake or
Oh,
somewhere
nice.
downtown. I
Yep.
went to a salsa festival in Tempe Town Lake one time and it was awesome.
Oh, it would be.
I loved it.
So
I
many
loved it.
yummy things. My girlfriend makes a salsa with mango in it, and
Oh,
it's so good.
little cilantro, little onion, little tomato, little
Oh
mango. I had a salsa, a peach salsa a
yes.
couple of weekends ago. I was in Colorado a couple of weekends ago, and my sister was having this wedding ceremony on an organic peach farm in Colorado. I didn't know that Colorado or Palisade, Colorado specifically, was known for their peaches.
Yeah, I did not know
And
that either.
now you know, and now you need to go to Palisade and go get some peaches
No
because they're
kidding.
delicious. And it was a really nice, refreshing salsa with that peach and
Yeah,
cilantro.
it would be.
Yeah,
I
it was
could see
nice,
that. Very good.
delightful.
All right, so we've covered the hot foods,
Yeah,
covered some of your favorites.
yeah.
What kind of music do you listen to melt your ears off?
I love death metal.
Oh, really?
I do.
I grew up with pretty hard rock.
Yeah.
And I would say that I'm probably in the middle, but I attribute to some of my hearing loss on probably
Certainly.
little Iron Maiden in
Certainly.
the old fashioned, earphones
Like
with
these right here.
Walkman.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah. Those little foam
full
with the little
blast.
foam with the
Oh
little
yeah,
black foam around the yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely
run
had.
through the hills.
Yeah. I saw Iron Maiden. Was it last year they were here in town?
Okay.
Yeah. It was the first time I had ever seen them live, and it was awesome.
Oh yeah, I
It
bet
was
that
amazing. It was
amazing.
amazing. Yeah. It was a great show. But yeah, I tend to veer towards the more extreme side of that even. And I don't really know how I got to that point.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't. Like like I got my music bug from my dad, right?
Okay.
My dad buys music and always had music playing in the house, and I kind of carried that with me. I think I'm the only one in my family though. Because yeah, I spent a lot of money on music over the years.
Yeah.
And but my dad listens to like cool jazz, like
Okay.
contemporary jazz and mostly that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And man, I love you, Dad, but man, so like that's what he listens to, right? And so like I started listening to. How did I get into it? Because I already dated myself by mentioning Raiders of the Lost Ark. So
Right. I was gonna say, was it a rebel thing as a teenager?
no, it really wasn't though. It really wasn't. I listened to like radio, I loved all that radio stuff. And then I remember when Metallica had released Injustice for All back in 1988 or whenever it was. And the video for One came out on MTV.
That was so good.
I thought it was I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Um and then I started listening, like I remember like Skid Row, Youth Gone Wild had come out at that point, and I was like, this is the heaviest album ever. And right, and then it kind of just kept
Rocks.
going from there, right? It just kind of kept going from there, and I actually know how I got into it now that I'm talking to you about it and thinking about it. And so like I was listening to like Metallica and like Megadeth in high school. I was like, this is the heaviest thing ever. I love it. Megadeth's Rust in Peace album is still one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
And so fast forward a little bit, it's like early 2000s and new metal is the big thing. And like there were a couple bands that I was like, yeah, this is all right. This is cool. I kind of like this, but most of it sucked. I was like, this is
Yeah, I
awful.
agree.
This is
We had the
awful.
best.
Well, I won't say we have the best. No, no, no,
No,
Natalie, I'm not gonna. I'm nope, nope.
I
Let's think about
stand by that.
let's think about bands like let's talk about hair bands from the '80s and talk about how the best those guys. No, those some of
No.
them were horrible, right? Like driving and crying. What was that band driving and crying? It was just I don't even know. They had like one or two videos on MTV, and I was like, this is awful.
Right.
But new metal came around in the year 2000-ish or so, and I will say, I will admit, I don't care what any of you say, Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park was actually a good album, right?
Okay.
Right. And that kind of, and and then there was like Disturbed and all these other bands. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm not gonna like poo poo on them because they had some good songs.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie and say I hated all of it. I didn't.
Right.
But one thing I was missing from new metal was the guitar solo.
Oh yeah.
Right? They were like nobody knew how to play a guitar solo. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they did know how to play it, but it just wasn't part of what they were doing then. And so I was like, I'm done with heavy metal. I was like, this all sucks because I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better. And then I went back to school and I went back to ASU, Arizona State University, for the uninitiated. uh, got to the radio station, the college radio station, because everybody's like, "Oh, you have such a good voice. You ever think about
I
doing
do.
radio? You ever think about doing radio?" And I was like, "Oh, let me go try it out. Let me quit my job and like be an irresponsible adult and go to college again." Right, 25. Right, so that's what I did. And so one of the first things I did is I hooked up with the metal director over at the college station, and I started hearing all these bands that I'd never heard before, and I was like, "Oh my god, there's a guitar solo here. Oh my god, this is awesome. There's rhythm to this. It's not just like syncopated beats or whatever. There's like driving hard, fast rhythms in this." And then I started listening to more and more bands. And as I was listening to more and more bands, my taste, just like with my food, my taste for music also got more and more extreme.
Okay.
And that's where I am right now. That's where I am. I'm a middle-aged man who loves extremely fast and sometimes extremely dark heavy metal.
Nice.
So yeah, here
Yeah.
we are.
You know what? We have two daughters. So my husband and I grew up pretty much together in small towns.
Mhm.
So rock and roll, AC/DC, Metallica, Iron Maiden, like we love that kind of stuff. And my husband probably went a little more on the dark side like you, or heavier. And then when we raised our kids, well, we fell in love with Dave Matthews. I don't
Uh-huh.
know. We love Dave. And so our kids just grew up and heard our music in the home. And now they love all the old stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so we took them to a Metallica concert a couple of years ago, which
Oh,
was
cool.
great in Glendale. And on Mother's Day, they surprised me and we went to see, oh my gosh, I'll think about it in
It
a
wasn't Dave
second.
Matthews.
No, it wasn't Dave. Oh no. But we've gone to many concerts with
Mhm.
girls and saw Dave in different, sometimes we'll pop over to California and just catch two concerts in a
You
row.
follow Dave Matthews.
No, I mean, we pop in here and there. I wouldn't say we follow him. But yeah, his concerts are easygoing, just good vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, man, let me think. I've been to a couple good vibes shows. The goodest vibe show I've ever been to was George Clinton and the P-Funk All-Stars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Okay.
That was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I love live music. There's, to be with everybody and just the energy. I love it.
Yeah, same. I agree. I went to a show last year and it had been the first show I had gone to in quite a long time. Well, really since before the pandemic.
Oh, we were having
Um,
withdrawals.
yeah, it
And
was
Dave
awesome.
Matthews, during the pandemic, did Dave, what did he call them? Dave Wednesdays.
Uh-huh.
So he would on YouTube play either live, just their little band, or they would preview a previous concert.
Oh, cool.
So we would like hurry up, rush home, get our dinner and drinks, and we put on the Dave show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. That's cool. It's not quite the same. I mean, I appreciate what everybody was doing during that period, still performing so that way people could watch from home, but it's not quite the same, is it?
No.
No,
Oh,
there's
no.
no. There's something to be said about being able to feel the sound from the speakers just shake your insides.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you ever been to a concert way out in the West Side? It's changed names so many times. I think it used to be um
Desert Sky Pavilion, Cricket Pavilion,
exactly.
Auction Pavilion, or whatever
Yes.
casino
I
pavilion
don't
now,
even know what it
right?
is. Yeah. We've had some magical nights there because we've had the right up front tickets and then
Hmm.
we've had the grass seats,
Oh wow,
the nice breeze coming through and just beautiful sky and just yeah, it's been amazing.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to the Cricket Auction Desert Sky Pavilion a few times. I saw Metallica for the first time there. I almost cried when they came on stage. I was like, "Oh my God!"
Right? I think we were the same.
Right? I mean, I mean, Metallica was my favorite band growing up, and I still love them.
Yeah,
And
we
I'm a
do
little upset
too.
that I missed them over the weekend. They were here in town, but I saw them for the first time at that place. I saw Ozfest one year there.
Okay. Yeah.
So like Slayer was playing. That was the first time I had ever seen Slayer live, and that was really good.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, I saw Slipknot play there once, and that was really good. That was when they were still kind of like sort of new, and they were still crazy and would jump off the speaker stack into the
Right.
crowd. Yeah, like it was a good show.
Yeah.
Um,
We bought the season ticket pass.
oh
I
wow,
think Slayer was one of the and our friend we had something going and our friend went and he's like they wouldn't rent chairs that night.
yeah,
You weren't allowed to bring anything flammable in. Like I'm
oh
like,
yeah,
wow.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably a little too much for me now.
Is it? I don't know. I still get into it. I don't sit near the mosh pits or anything because I almost died once at a show, because I was right at the edge of the pit, and like
Gosh.
I could feel my chair start doing this.
Oh
Like, uh-oh.
no.
I was like, I should probably move out of the way. Uh, Thankfully I'm still alive. So
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
So let's go back to your voice acting because I know
Sure.
there's so many authors that really would like to get their books into audiobooks. They have podcasts, they have, intros and outros that they need for, being introduced on stages and stuff. So let's talk about how they can work with you.
Yeah, so they can either reach me through my website, tonyjacksonvo.com, or, they can email me, tony@tonyjacksonvo.com. And, we can talk about what it is that you're looking for, what type of
Okay.
book you have. We can talk about what I can do for you, what your turnaround time is. I've done a few audiobooks, and get them ready to publish on Audible or ACX as it's known, because they have very specific
They do.
audio standards that need to be met before it gets uploaded. So I've never had a book returned because the audio was not up to standard.
Yep.
So yeah, I can usually I depending on the length of the audiobook, it can usually, well, I won't say usually, a week or two, depending on the book. Some books will take a little bit longer for sure. I
Yep.
did a book late last year, early this year. It took me about 3 weeks to get it done.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was good though. It was a book about how important communication is when you're running a new startup, especially or particularly a tech startup,
Okay.
and how important having a communication plan is. Um, just in general, having a
Yeah.
plan, right, when things go sideways. Um, so yeah, I've done that. I like I said, I've done some smaller fiction things here and there. Um, yeah,
Very
and
good.
so yeah, so anybody looking to reach out to me would, either through my website or through email, say, hey, I have a book. The first audiobook I ever did was a executive coach. He said I had this book written. I tried to record it myself, and it was taking forever, and I just stopped.
Right.
And I was like, well, let me help you out. I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his book was relatively short. Um, and it didn't take me that long. It took me maybe 3 or 4 days to get it done. 5 days, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what people don't understand is unless you have the right equipment and the right surroundings and know how to, um, I'm going to probably mess this up, but like breathe correctly when you're speaking, the audio picks up all the little things, the dog barking, the laundry, going. Like you really have to have a professional setup or your book will be rejected. So all those hours are for nothing.
Yes.
And then the other thing is ACX, which is Audible, is very particular. The files have to be so long. They have to have a front and a back so long and stuff. So when you're working with someone like Tony, and let me tell you, when Tony gave me his pricing, I was very impressed. His pricing is so fair. And for you can hear his voice. For what you're getting, it's a phenomenal experience, and it will pay to do it properly than try to use AI or do it yourself, because most likely you don't know how to do it yourself unless you go to a studio and get someone to really lay it out. And what we tell people is you can get a voice actor or you can do it yourself, but usually the editing when you do it yourself costs more than hiring a voice actor. Do you find
Yeah.
that?
Well, the other thing about the editing too, what people don't understand is that's what takes the longest when you're recording an audiobook.
Really does.
Um, and so when you're recording an audiobook, y- you're looking at for every 1 hour of finished audio, usually 3 to 4 hours of recording and editing to get it to that 1 hour. Um, and yeah, it's not even the reading part of it. It's the maybe you messed up a word here, or you missed a word, or you didn't say something right. So you got to go back and re record it again. And
Yep.
doing that over and over again is what takes time. Yeah,
Yep.
I could read a book and get it done within 2 days. But
Yeah.
the editing will take me five, right? So,
Which is still amazing timing. Usually we don't even, we kind of say it's a month-long journey,
mhm.
and that's perfect. So yeah. So is there any other last things that you want to touch on, audiobooks or intros or
Sure. Yeah, sure. I will. So you and I talked about artificial intelligence earlier, and now that we're talking about audiobooks and voiceover and things like that, it's a big talking point within the voiceover community right now because we all understand that with a push of a button or several buttons, you can have an artificially generated voice to read your book or read your script for whatever it might be. And what I will say is, yeah, sure, you can do that. That's fine. That's your choice to do that. Um, but you won't get the human emotion out of a machine.
right?
And you might be able to get it done quickly. Yeah, an artificially generated voice can turn out your 60,000 word book in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Not a problem. But it's not going to sound like it was done by a human. And if it does, you're going to be paying a lot for it. So my my piece of advice is to, if you're going to pay money for something good, you might as well use a human being
Right.
who will be able to get that emotion out from your book, who will read your book and
Yep.
will be able to connect with the words that you've written and be able to translate that emotional connection from the page to your ear.
Right.
A computer
Yeah,
can't
well,
do
think
that.
about it. Your readers know you, like as say you're a coach or a business person or an influencer that, people know your sense of humor and stuff. Like in my book, I have some things that I talk about that are very serious, and then I talk about that are light and almost poking fun at this or maybe a little sarcastic. AI is not going to pick that up and be able to do the different inflections that your voice would. So you're going to lose the how your book was meant to be. When the reader reads it, they're processing that through their head, and they're putting that in. But when they're listening and it's kind of flat and not bringing it, you're losing your content. You're
Right.
really,
You
yeah.
really are. And I will say there are some really good artificially generated voice programs out there, but as you listen, your ear and your brain will at some point hear something different that doesn't quite sound natural,
Right.
right? And you'll go,
My
okay,
intro.
this is, yeah, oh yeah, certainly. Well, yeah, your intro, sure, that was.
Hey, it was a first shot. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna try this.
I'm not mad at you. I'm not
Yeah.
mad,
I'm
Natalie.
so sorry to shrink your heart.
That's okay. It's okay.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So, I like legacy. So I've got a couple legacy questions for you.
Okay, bring it on.
All right. So, what is on your legacy list? And that's kind of like your bucket list, but it's anything that you want to accomplish, be remembered for, achieve, travel. It could be anything. So, what is on your legacy list? Share as many as you want. Share a couple
Wow.
things,
There's so much. There's so
right?
much, right? Like you think about it and you go, wow, we don't have a lot of time here, right? Like we don't really have a lot of time. And you think about when you were a kid, right? And you think about to this point where you are in life right now.
Yeah.
And like on paper, you're like, oh, well, that was a long time ago. But in your mind, it doesn't really seem like that was that long ago, right? Like people still talk about 2002 like it was like a year ago. Folks, it's
Right.
2023,
I know.
right?
But
Right? Like
sometimes in my head, like my mental state is still in my 20s. Like I think I can keep up. I think like when my girls have their friends over, I'm like, yeah, that sounds so fun. And then they're still partying at 12 and I'm like, okay, peace out.
time to go to
Like,
bed, right? Right. And I figured out, and I know I'm getting off topic here, but I figured out why so many elderly people, please don't be mad at me, elderly folks, but why so many elderly people dance the same way, right? It's these awkward, like arm and hand movements, right? It's because they can't move. I didn't even really think about it until recently, right? Like, I'm sure, like, back in the 50s at the sock hop or at the disco in the 70s, like, they were killing it out there,
oh, that's
right?
funny.
Like,
It's
killing
so
it,
true.
right? And now
Yep.
they're just like, yeah, exactly what you just did. Like, just it's
Right.
because they can't move. Like, if they tried to do that now, I mean, they would shatter something. It didn't even occur to me until recently. I was like, oh my
Oh,
God,
that is so
I
funny.
get
That,
it.
yep. Yep.
Right. So,
Going to
man,
my niece's wedding, so I'm going to be analyzing.
right. You just gotta like crouch down a little bit and like, like move your hips around some, right? And yeah, I mean that'll be fine. Don't wave your hands. I mean like just yeah, just you can get a little something like, do you like that? And that'll be fine. That'll be perfectly acceptable.
Oh,
Um man, so wow, my legacy? That seems like
your legacy list, like your
my
bucket
legacy
list.
yeah,
Give
my
us,
legacy list. I
yep.
mean like I still
What's
want to get
something like if tomorrow was your last day, you would go, oh my gosh, I really still wanted to
do
blank.
this.
Yep.
I mean, I still need to get to Germany at some point.
Okay. What's
Yeah.
special about Germany for you? Like what's
That's a whole separate
okay,
hour long story.
that's podcast number two.
That is podcast number 2. I have a story behind Germany, but I do need to get to Germany to some point. Now people be like, "Oh, I wonder what that's at. I wonder what his story's about."
Right?
Right?
We'll have to
Yeah.
have you back.
So that's definitely something that I want to do. I am going to Australia in a few weeks, which,
Oh, that's
which
one of mine.
is going to be great.
Yeah,
Um I don't know, my legacy list. I would like to at some point just be able to completely support myself with my voice acting work. And I'm
perfect.
getting there. Building a business, as
It's
anybody
tough.
knows, like it, it's it's a marathon.
Yep.
It is a marathon, and most people aren't going to get to that point within a few months or even a couple of years. And
Right.
so getting the voiceover business to a point where it can sustain me and propel me, help me
Mhm.
thrive is definitely on the list. Um, yeah, because I mean, I certainly like doing what I do for Ability 360, and it's a great organization.
Right.
I hope my boss doesn't hear this part, but one day I would like to just do this all day.
I
Don't tell
understand.
him. Don't tell him I said
Right.
that. I think he knows. He knows
Uh,
already, but um,
But you
so
know what?
yes,
There's so many people. The hard part is you have someone that's so talented like yourself. You've got that voice that could make so many books sound amazing. It's the trick to just get it out there and get known. And that's why I love interviewing people that are helping make the world a better place in any way they're serving people. And so hopefully some of our listeners will, share it in their circle and, see if we can get some people that are needing their books out. It is a whole revenue system that is not being taken advantage of if you've got a book
yeah,
and not an audio book.
and I will say this too. The other legacy thing is that I just want people to remember that, you know what? Maybe he had a funny joke every once in a while. Maybe he was kind of funny, right? Every once in a while. Maybe I say something ridiculous or crass or something, but hopefully it was funny.
Yeah.
Um,
So is that the one thing you'd like to be remembered for?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I've done some really stupid things in my life, as most of us have. But I hope most of them were funny. Most of them. The other thing, the other thing I will say too regarding the voiceover, I know I'm going back and forth because my brain's like, phew. But if for some reason you think, Tony's got a really nice voice, but it doesn't really fit what I'm looking for. I happen to have a lot of voiceover friends, a
Perfect.
lot of them. And
Nice.
so if you come to me and you're like, I need my book done, but you don't sound like a woman. You got any female like voices that you know about? I know a ton of people.
Perfect.
I know a
That's
ton
awesome.
of people.
All
So
right. So reach out to Tony. Let's get those audiobooks going. I can help you with them. He can help you with them. And we will work as a team to get some new audiobooks up.
spread them out to the world, folks. And just promise me that you're not going to use an AI generated voice because they sound terrible.
Right.
It's awful.
And stay tuned. You're going to hear the intro be amazing.
You will. Maybe because you've heard that voice before somewhere.
Right? Maybe. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will stay in touch. And I really look forward to hearing the books that you're creating.
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Your Legacy Story Podcast. If you would like to share your legacy story with Natalie or get your legacy book started, please reach out at GiftsOfLegacy@gmail.com. Be sure to add My Legacy Stories in the subject line. We would love to help you share your legacy message out to the world. Natalie would like to invite you to join our private Facebook group, Create Your Legacy Life. She shares tips on book publishing, ways to create and leave your legacy, and she interviews the most amazing legacy creators, sharing their moments of purpose, gratitude, wisdom, and tradition, and of course, their legacy stories. See you next week.